talking Netflix this morning. So last week, Netflix told investors stop asking about subscribers. So starting in 2025, Netflix will no longer report quarterly subscriber numbers. And we are all accustomed to any Netflix report, a performance report, starting with whether they've gained subscribers or whether they've lost subscribers. So starting in 2025, they made this, you can switch to the next slide here. So starting in 2025, they will no longer report. And this is after reporting 9.3 million new subscribers as part of their crackdown with account sharing. And they are now at around 270 million in total. Netflix has said they will only announce major subscriber milestones. What those milestones are, they haven't said, but that's the only time they will report on numbers. According to Netflix, subscriber growth and those numbers were just a good indicator of future potential. So early on in the business, that's what made sense. So what does this mean? They are shifting their business model, and that means they have to look at new KPIs. Memberships are only one component of that growth, and they are already developing new streams like ad-supported plans. So what do they want to do? They want to focus on operating margin and revenue as their primary financial metrics, and engagement metrics, mainly the time spent on platform, to gauge their customer satisfaction. So what does this all mean for small businesses? Metrics change, so don't panic. As your business grows, so should how you measure your ROI on digital. Your operations should expand to include customer satisfaction and retention, as well as driving new customers, where that may have been your focus starting the business to now. You want to make sure you're expanding those operations accordingly. You want to adjust your digital KPIs to match what's important. When we talk about this, we mean like your growth in relevant traffic to your site. It may slow, but you may see your time on site increasing or your CTR increasing. Again, it means you're reaching more of the relevant audience. Another change in your metrics may be the growth of emails collected may slow, but your open and click-through rates increases. And you can continue slides. And your increased conversion rates may become more important to your business. So overall, I thought this was an interesting signal to investors where we talk about going beyond the likes, and Netflix is saying, hey, go beyond the subscribers, right? We're not looking at just subscribers anymore. We are looking at varying ad stream, ad revenue, membership revenue. So we want to make sure that we are counting the right things. So what they started with, and this just sounded like go beyond the likes, they're not using anymore. What are your thoughts?
I love this because I've been like following this for the last few years actually, because I'm obsessed with like investing on the side. So all these companies are the big companies. So all these social media companies for the most part, right? Because Netflix, if we kind of moved away streaming, social media kind of fit into, I guess, the same bucket. They've been looking at subscribers. So Netflix would come out with like, they're like, we increased revenue by blah, blah, blah %, but our subscribers dropped and their numbers would go down, and it would happen to all of them. And they all had to get beyond the subscribers because the business is growing. They're doing new things, right? They had to pivot that. But a little bit of it is almost like their fault, right? Because these streaming, I felt like they didn't understand how to dabble in the investor space, right? So they're like, we're going to give you these amazing numbers, right? It's the impressions, it's the numbers that we feel like we have to give these big numbers. And then when that number, because the law of diminishing returns has to step in at some point in time, right? So just economics at its fundamental core. So for the last few years, watching these companies and their numbers go down, and they're like, subscribers are down, and I'm like, what about revenue? So it's interesting that they're doing it now. It's great that they're doing it now. And it's really pivoting the mindset of the investors, right? Because that's a bit of a target audience as well, too, right? As much as they're, they may have Netflix accounts, but they're also like, where does the money reside? How am I making money through this? So they have to shift. So they've been educating them, not just for the last 2 years, because this conversation has been going on for the last 2 years, 2-3 years. So they've been educating them, and now the shift happens now. So I'm excited about it. I think it makes the most sense. It's pure numbers, right? You can only get so many subscribers. In the beginning, you're growing at a rate that's ridiculous, but literally we say we Netflix and chill now. Like just come on. It's a verb. You're fine. Go for the money.
And it's such a process that in this announcement, they also gave their projections for next quarter, and they projected a drop in membership and the stock slid. So the investors are obviously still tied very much to, number of subscribers. So it's going to take a little bit of doing.
Yeah, 100%. They're very much tied to it. They can't help themselves. Again, the new businesses, investors they're still old investors, and that behavior is like, these are the metrics that are here that we're accustomed to. These new business models don't necessarily make sense. So it's going to be a gauntlet, but it's going to be fun. The other thing I wanted to add too is that, okay, so everyone that is piggybacking on my account, y'all know who y'all are. Still piggybacking on my account. just saying. Hopefully no one on Netflix watches this show.
That is hilarious. That is hilarious. But I love this hot topic though, because it's so, Tamara's right. It's just about the numbers, and it's about how you get, and I'm using the word creative because I can't find another word for it, but how do you get creative with the reporting and the numbers, but creative in a good way? Meaning, how do we look at how this business is performing and find other metrics that denote success? Because success is now changing. What success looks like for the business in this phase is now different. And it's a really good takeaway for business owners to understand that where you started is not necessarily where you end up, and what continues to matter in the business. So in the beginning, certain things were important. So those things you would have accomplished, but you can't keep measuring yourself by that stick all the time, right? Think about it as when you go to school. We change classes every year. We go into a different class and they judge you by a different metric. You can't be 12 years old and still in grade 1 or 2 and still being judged by those metrics. You have to be judged by what we call secondary school, high school metrics, right? Because you're shifting into a whole new phase. So it's the same methodology that you're looking at. And Netflix is saying, you know what? It's not all about how many subscribers we get. It's about how long they stay on the platform. It's about how they feel about us, how long they're spending their whole Sunday on the platform. That matters more than just getting numbers, because you may get a subscriber who may not use it or may drop off in 2-3 months and may not stay with you, and you may not get sales over the long life of that customer. So I really like this topic. And as Michael was doing it, I predicted the points, because I was like, oh, but this means that they have new metrics. And then the slide said, so this means they have new metrics. I was like, well, obvious. I love this. I love this. Great topic, Michael. Great topic.
I know we're running short on time, but I have so many opinions on this, and I'll try to consolidate it in speed talk on this one, because from a sales and pricing perspective, this handwriting's been on the wall for years. And we go back to everything that we speak about in this room about your audience, educating your audience and communicating with your audience. And you're right, Tamara, the Netflix folks have put themselves and pigeonhole themselves in with this part of their community and investors and their whole teams probably on this is our metric, and this is what we're going to ride the wave on, which was great when they owned the market, when they were the only game in town. But as time has progressed and other streaming services have come to the table, are the ways of looking at and consuming your video, your movies, hello, YouTube TV, a number of other ways, then of course their share of the market is changing. There are other ways, and partnerships. We speak about the importance of partnerships here. Netflix has a multitude of partnerships that is a different metric that they may place on the table that will show a way that they are not only owning the space, but able to recover and have a different revenue stream of business that's coming in. So market segmentation, channel service is important as well. That goes along with the number of people that are streaming and the buyer behaviors that have changed. So their language and how they have taught people to understand them has changed over the years, and they have not retaught their own people, their investors, those people that are coming in that they want to partner with us as the buying community, how to relate to them. So they are on their heels and trying to catch up, and they have said enough is enough. Similar, we all have heard this as well in the Google space, the third-party cookies, first party, and the language change that we've seen in this space, because that's hitting really hard in this year as well. So I'm not surprised. I'm really happy that they said enough is enough. You're going to stop judging me. So I'm going to take the metric away completely, and I'm going to serve up something different to you to look at something different and change that conversation. Business owners, word to the wise, you have to do that as well. Train your clients, train your prospective customers on what the reality is, and change that conversation. And to me, that was the differentiator in here, and that they tried probably in a multitude of ways. It didn't work, and they said enough. I'm taking away that metric, so we're going to change that conversation. Good on them, and it's about damn time.
But I think we have to be clear too, right? The customer base is very different from the investor base. And the investor base is this old traditional type of behavior. And so these new companies that have come in and have these, they're like, same thing with digital we talk about. There's so many metrics, there's so many things. Usually they're driven by revenue. All of a sudden they're like, just imagine that investors be like, let me be driven by this. So it's a real shift, and they're going to take a lot longer to shift, because we see them, because we understand that even though these new streaming companies have come in, what happens is that Netflix is still the thing that we all have a Netflix account. We hold our Netflix account and we kind of dibble and dabble. We're like, we with this one for like 6 months, and we're like, oh yeah, it doesn't have that show anymore. We leave and we come back. But Netflix is the account that holds true, right? We don't get rid of that. We're like, if I come back, it'll be too much. So if I leave, it'll cost me more or whatever, but we're definitely connected to that. So it's the difference between the Netflix customer base and the Netflix investor base, which is, two different animals. But all in all,
completely different audiences, completely different talk track, completely different persona. The way that they receive and deliver information is very different. It's the same as the sales cycle. Same thing, different avenues are going to yield to different results. And we need to make sure that we accommodate as best as we can. Good morning, Juma. Happy Monday to you. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning, Juma. So final thoughts on this hot topic for me were definitely for the takeaways for business owners. Where are you at in your business? Is your digital presence still designed solely and wholly to drive new business? Have you grown a customer base and now added pieces that support that customer satisfaction and support measuring that customer satisfaction? I think that's where I wanted to take this for sure, because we all go through these stages as businesses where our presence is designed with a focus in one area, and it may change, and we just need to look at the metrics and how they're changing to indicate if we're going in the right direction.